Let's say that I would like to know where a certain file belongs to which package. So let's search, for example, for the command ls. So we can type apt file search and then bin ls, because there is the executable. And we see that, for example, we have util Linux or other packages where our ls can be found. And we see here, for example, that bin ls is inside of the package core utils. Of course, you can use dpkg for the same functionality, so you can type dpkg -s and then bin ls. And we see that bin ls is inside of core utils. So by actually installing this package, we'll get to this executable. Alright, the next tip, how I can find which are the modified files in the last 30 minutes. So I can just type find -min and then 30. And this will list all the modified files in the last 30 minutes inside of this system. Okay, the next command is let's find all the installed packages in the system. So we can get the output of var walk Debian package manager, and we'll grab only the installed files. So we see that we have installed those files recently. Alright, this is useful when you don't remember what you have installed and then you would like to remove certain things. That's how easy you can check for them. And very often I have difficulties to understand which directories are taking space on my hard drive, so I'm using ncdu. And for example, we can enter interactively inside of the directories and understand very easy which files are taking space and delete them if you would like. Very often I would like to know which programs are using the internet. I've used this utility nethogs, and of course with the root access I can see that here will be the process identificator, the user, and for example here the Firefox is constantly sending and receiving data, so you can follow your traffic this way, and you can see if you have any installed downloads, which process exactly is using them, and many more. Very often I would like to start certain programs without typing sudo in front of them, and for this I would just have to place my user inside of their group. So let's say we got this example from Docker. Here in this variable user we are saving our user in the system, and we are adding as a secondary group our user to the Docker group, and from then on, since our user is belonging to the Docker group, we can launch Docker without sudo privileges. Another tip is, for example, here if we type ls-la, we see that in front of the HTML directory the permissions we have a plus sign. This means that we are using ACL permissions on top of the standard ones. If we would like to see those enhanced permissions, we would just have to type get ACL, so the effective permissions, and then on the directory you would like to see them. And here we see the normal permissions, so the owner, the group, and the others. But also we see that we have set default permissions. So this means that any newly created files will have read, write, and execute permissions. The same permissions we'll have for the group, and the group will be set to www.data. And all the other users which are not owners or belong to the group www.data will have read and execute permissions. We can set permissions with the command set facl. And here we are setting up the group to www.data and giving read, write, and execute permissions. And this is exactly for var www. And we're setting the default permissions, so we're using those permissions here, default ones. And we are modifying the effective ACLs on this directory. So here is another example of the same command. Actually, we are putting our user with read, write, and execute permissions inside of the same directory. But here we also like to set those permissions recursively, so all the subdirectories and files will also get the same permissions. So most of the time setting those permissions requires first to set them without the default parameter in order to affect all the current files residing inside of the directories, and afterwards to run one pass in order to be those permissions effective for the newly created files and directories. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed those tips, and if you like them, you can subscribe to the channel.